Hey guys, welcome to my channel Twitter Fuzzy. I've come up with a new video where I'll be teaching you how to enable Google Drive API. I'll also teach how to read file and folder from your PC using Python. We'll also learn string manipulation in naming the files and folders based on my requirement. You will also check how to see if a folder is existing in Google Drive. If it is not existing, how will be created? Last, we will upload the file in the Google Drive under that specific folder. This is going to be a slightly lengthier video, so without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so before we begin with the code, let us understand why am I doing what I'm doing. See, I'm an online trainer. I train online using Zoom or Skype or maybe even GoToMeeting. Now these files, after the meeting is done, are saved in a certain format. Now what I usually do is these files, I search these files and then I save it in the Google Drive in a specific folder, and inside that I will give a specific name to the file. Now I've taken an example here of Zoom meeting, and this is just a folder I've created which is testing folder. Now inside this I have this folder which has, if you see here, the naming convention being 2020-04-17, which is the date, followed by time, followed by space and name of the the meeting, and then at the end you have some numbers which is basically the meeting ID or something of that sort. Now if I double click this, if you will observe that there are some audio files and then there are some mp4 files. So what I have to do is I have to read this particular file, and only the mp4 file I have to pick and place it in the Google Drive. Alright, so what did I do? First I had to understand which is the folder. Alright, I picked the folder here, and then I have to rename this. And how do I rename? I rename based on the name of the file. This is the standard that I am following. Alright, so I say Python B33 and then followed by a space and the date. So I say 2020-04 and 17. This is the naming that I give to the file. Alright, now what do? I take this file and I check if a folder for that is existing in the Google Drive. So if you see Python B33 is not existing, so what I'll do is I'll come here and I'll open a new, I'll create a new folder and say Python B33. Alright, now that this folder is created, I have to go inside this folder and I have to go back here and place it here. Of course, it will take some time based on the internet speed. Right now I'm having a little less speed, but anyway, so this is the actual process that I'm doing right now. You see, I take so many classes in a day. For every meeting, for every class that I'm taking, I have to do this manual task, and that is the reason I've automated it. Step 1, create Google Drive API. So here you have to do a couple of things. One is you should have a Gmail account. Second, you will be needing PyDrive, which is a package that we'll be making use of, which makes our life much more easier in order to handle the complex authentication steps. Previously, this was a really lengthy process. Now it has been reduced thanks to PyDrive. So I'll show you how to even install PyDrive in a virtual environment. But first thing first, let us go to console.developers.google.com, and here you will have to create project. You can give a proper name to your project. I'll just say Google Drive, PyDrive. Alright, I'll say create. Then it will take some time to create a project. Now once this is done, the dashboard, and in this dashboard I'll be saying create and enable an API. Okay, so here I'll be searching for Drive, which is Google Drive. Click on this Google Drive and enable this API first. Once this drive is enabled, I have to create the credentials. This is a mandatory step. click on create credentials, and then you can choose which API am I going to use. I'm going to use Google Drive API. And from where will I be calling this? I'll be calling from web server. You can say that what data will you be accessing. I'll be using my own user data basically. So I'll just say, I'll click on this, and then it will tell me you have to set up OAuth consent screen. So I'll click on setup consent screen. Here I'm going to choose external because I do not have internal. I cannot choose internal because I do not have a G Suite. Okay, so I'm not a G Suite user. I'll click on create, and then here I'll give the application name. So I'll give an application name as PyDrive API. Okay, and I need not put any logo. I can just use my email ID. I'll say add scope. In adding the scope, I have to select this one, which is basically Google Drive API for edit, create and delete all the Google Drive files. The next one should be to this one, the read only, drive.read only, to see and download all the Google Drive files. I'll say add. Once these are added, I can just skip all these things. As of now, I don't need it. I'll just say save. It'll say we detected a problem with the product name shown to users field. Make sure it describes your specific product and avoid using a name that suggests that your product comes from Google or other company. All right, so we'll just say, we'll come back here and probably give proper name. We'll say application name is Python PyDrive project 2. I'll come back and say save. Of course it saves. So now what I have to do is I have to click on this credentials and say create credentials. I want to create credentials for OAuth client ID. I'll choose web application. I'll give a proper name. I'm just giving web client, let's say 12. Here I have to give authorized JavaScript origin and authorized redirect URIs. So this you can find it from here. If you see in this documentation, which I spoke of earlier, here it says HTTP localhost 8080 for authorized JavaScript origin, and the same one followed by a / for authorized redirect URI. So I'll come here, I'll paste this, I'll come here and paste this and give a / and say create. As soon as I click on create, it will create credentials for my OAuth. So this is the credential that I can use now. I'll say okay. What I'll do is I'll just click on this web client 12, which I've created just now, and say download the JSON. Now I have downloaded this JSON file. I'll just click on this downloads and see here it's a big name. What I have to do is I have to get rid of all of these other names and just keep this way. I'll say client secrets. Okay, this should be the name of the file. It is a JSON file. Now this file should be placed in your project folder, the working directory which you will be creating for your project. Okay, I have done this part already and it is there in my on my desktop, and I'll be using the same thing over there. So I'll just close this for now, and let us talk about how to install PyDrive, because the first part, which is to enable the API and make sure that we can call our API has been set up. Validate the API. We'll start with installing PyDrive. I'll be installing the PyDrive in a virtual environment. This virtual environment which I have created is something similar to a video which I have made previously. If you don't know how to create a virtual environment, look at the link which is given in the description below. Alright, the command which we'll be making use of to install PyDrive will be pip install PyDrive. Now if I click enter, obviously this has been installed already in my case, so I'm not going to, basically it will say the requirement satisfies already. But in your case, it will take some time and it will install the necessary packages. Alright, so if you observe, it says requirements already satisfied, requirement already satisfied, and so on. Alright, cool. You can go back to the documentation of PyDrive and you will see that they have given you a code which is used to create a local web server, and this also handles the authentication. So it's just the 3-line code as of now, which I've already written in my Spider, one of my module. Okay, the name of the module that I've given is google_drive.py. If you observe, this has been created on my desktop under a folder called g_drive project. Now inside this particular folder, I have created, I have copied and pasted client_secrets.json. It's a JSON object that we had previously created in the just some time back. Now inside this google_drive.py, you see this, I have written those 3-4 lines of code which does the authentication. Now I'll just run this step alone. So it's going to take some time, and then obviously it will open up. It will tell you whether it is authenticated or not. So it's taking some time, just a sec. Alright, observe, it says the authentication flow has completed. Now this tells me that my API which I have created is working properly, and now I can actually communicate with my Google Drive. Step 2. Read files and folders from PC using Python. In order to read a folder or a file, we'll be making use of the OS module. I'll begin with importing the OS module, and then I'll create a list object called, let's say, list of files is equal to os.list directories. Here I'll be giving the path. The path that I'm going to give is the folder which I actually wanted to read. If you remember in the first part, in the beginning, I have told you this is a testing path that I have created. So I'm going to copy this and go back here and paste it. Now the backslash it behaves like an escape character. So there are 2 ways to handle this. Either you give double backslash so that it behaves like an escape character. This is one way of reading the file. Or you could have put a / everywhere here. All right, it's up to you, whichever you may choose. I'm going to stick with backslash. I'm going to run this and observe list file has been created. If I just have a look at what is this list_files, it's basically a list of all the folders that have been present in my particular location. Now just think about this, that what if I add this name of the folder also to the existing path? If I do that, then I'll be able to go inside that particular folder and read furthermore whatever is inside. If you see now I have list of files that has all the files which are available inside that. So here I have an audio file, a playback.m3u file, and then this is the file that I'm looking for. If you remember, zoom_0.mp4. I have to read a file which is of .mp4 extension, and this is the file which I have to place it into my Google Drive after renaming. Step 3. String manipulation. So you guys are aware of the requirement. Requirement that I have is this is the name of the folder that I'll be picking up. From this, I need to capture the name of the meeting, which is in this case Python B33, and also this date field. All right. So observe, they are separated by spaces. You see this, between this date and time, I have a space here. I have a space between this time and this name of this the project, the meeting. And between the project name and the end, some kind of an ID, I have another space. So what I'll do is I'll make use of a string property, and I will read out all the folders which are there in this particular location. As of now, you guys are aware I have only one folder. Had I had more folders in this particular location, all of them would be available inside this list folder object, all right, which will be a list object. So let me just run this for now. Okay, so obviously list folder is created where, if you see this value is basically a string object. So what if I put it in a for loop and I say that for folder name in, let's say, list of folders. So I'm taking each folder name, and it is, remember, it is a string object. Since it's a string object, what I can do is I can say folder name dot split can be done. But also remember that the last field that I have is irrelevant to me. It is completely irrelevant. The first one, the last field, meaning this particular number, is irrelevant to me. So what I'll do is I'll just say start from last, reverse the string, and then separate it by spaces. So create separate strings separated by these spaces. Now when I do that, observe this one will be one of the object which will be created, and then this one, this entire thing will be one object. If I say create how many, I want to create only count as one. I want to create only one such separated string. All right. So I'll say, let's say I'll just give a random name for now. First thing is I don't need the first extracted value, the one which is extracted from this string. I don't want that, so I'll just put it in under this underscore, and the second one I'll place it under, let's say, extracted folder name. Okay, I'll say equal to this. So let me just run this for now. I'll just show you how this works. Observe, I have this folder name, which is, obviously we know what is that folder name. It is this entire folder name, which was a string, and I have extracted folder name, which has, if you see here, oops, let me just put it here, you will understand. Extracted folder name, this is the extracted folder name, but this folder name is reversed. Okay, it is entirely reversed. So what I have to do, obviously I have to somehow reverse it back, right? So maybe I can do this extracted folder name is equal to : -1. If I just do this, you know for a fact that I can easily, I'll just print it out, I can easily get the entire string printed out nicely. You see, the entire string which I wanted, the date, I don't want time, but I want this Python B33, right? So now understand that this string is needed, this space, whatever is there after this and between the next space is not needed, and then the last one is still needed. So what I'll do is I'll do the separation for two counts, meaning the first space and the second space. So observe, it is still a string, right? So what I'll do is I'll say, I've obviously reversed it back. Now I'm saying this extracted folder name, whatever I have, now again I'll say split based on space, but the count will be 2 times this time, and that value I will save it. Observe, the first one is the date, second one I don't need it, I'll just put it under underscore, and I'll say the third one is, let's say, file name, because that's the name of the file that I want, right? File name, something of that sort, equal to this. Now observe, I'll just print it out for you guys, date comma file name. Let me run this part. Observe, I have the date and the file name. Obviously the way I want this file name to be, which file name I'm looking at, the file name of the mp4 file. So that particular file name, which is that zoom_0.mp4, should be replaced with Python B33 followed by a space followed by date. That's how I want it. All right, so it is an easy string concatenation feature. What I'll do is now that I have found out the particular the folder under which I have to go, all right, and that folder name is inside this variable called folder name. What I'll do is and by the way, I'm just showing this to you all in one particular step. Of course, how I've written a code is very elaborate. Okay, I have created separate functions for doing separate activities. All right, and I'll run you through that process. But right now, I'm just explaining you what I am going to do. All right. So observe, I have this folder name. The folder name is, if you remember that, where is it? This entire folder name, right? Now I have to add to this os.listdir. I'm sorry, I have to add to this particular location that particular the folder name. When I do that, what I can do is I can just take this out. I'll say path, and I'll say path is equal to, I'll give this. All right, now I'll say here I will add to this path. What will I add? I'll say path is now updated to path plus I have to add this along with the folder name. All right, observe when I do that, I'll just print out to you, I'll just show you how the path will look. I'll run this. Observe, path is not defined, my bad. Observe, let's run this from top. Let's run this guy. Observe, it shows this entire path. Okay, now I am inside this particular folder. Now when I'm inside the folder, I can again use this os.list_dir, okay, and read individual files. I will just see right now I'm just showing you step by step. Obviously I've told you under this main.py I have separated out everything, so it's very clearly mentioned. Right now I'm just writing a code. So what I have to do is I have to take this, I have to read every file, right? So what I'll do is I'll say os.list_dir of this new path which I have given. All right, so what I have to do is I have to read through. Now again I'll say, this time I'll say list_files is equal to this. So the files will be put inside this list_files. I have to put a for loop here. I'll say for every file in my list_files, and I'll check if the file dot ends with, I'll check .mp4. If it ends with .mp4, then only replace the name. Remember, I had to replace the name of the file. I'll say file name is equal to what is that? File name is equal to yeah. So I'll say file name plus, I have to give a space, plus the date. Okay, so I'm just updating it in this. Whenever the file ends with .mp4, that time I have to do this. All right, so I'll just do this. I'll just come out and I'll print file name for you. All right, and I will just come out. Let's just run this. Let's see if everything works properly. All right, observe Python b33, Python b33, Python b33 2020 0470. Now why is this happening? Because this print file name is printing for all those files which are available. If you remember, inside this list of files there are 3 files, right? So that is why it is printing 3 times. So what I could have done is I could have put this function inside this if. Now when I do this, observe, I get something happened. System cannot find the path. All right, my bad. Run this entire thing. All right, observe, this has been produced. If you just want to know for which file name it is giving me that name, I'll just say file name comma file. So observe now properly, I'll show you. See, it is for the zoom_0.mp4. For this I'm creating this file name. All right, so this is the string manipulation part, guys. I know this was slightly lengthy. The thing is, I have done this in different functions, and it's very clear when you do it in a separate functions. Okay, every functionality has been put in another function, and I will explain you that next. Internet is full of technical videos. I just love to make it so that everyone understands.